Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Leading Change. My name is Emma, and I've got Jeff with me today. And we're going to be talking about change management that is maybe vendor-led as opposed to customer-led. But before I get to all the questions that I've got for you, Jeff, can you give everybody an introduction?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Jeff Tyler. I am the Chief Technology Officer at Insurance Quantified. We build software for insurance carriers and MGAs to manage their intake of new submissions. So basically, we do everything from ingestion to triage of the submissions and help you basically build a more efficient front of house for your underwriting operation.
Well, thank you again for joining me. And we're going to get started with the idea that I just kind of teased in that intro right away. So, what or how does change management look different, or what's different about change management when it is led by a vendor, kind of in that scenario of helping usher a change, as opposed to maybe the actual organization going through the change leading it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I mean, a lot of the challenge around being vendor led is getting access, right? And getting access to the right people. So, a lot of the times organizations have a mandate to change or have a desire to change. Um, but the teams internally are trying to navigate that, and they're trying to figure out, like, for instance, what tools do we need? What processes do we need? What actually needs to change? Um, and so I find that, like, really as a vendor, the way to get out of just being a vendor and into being a partner is very often around listening, right? You ask good questions, you listen, you talk to different people, you get in touch with the users, the people who actually will have to go through the change, and you work with them to understand, like, actually how to apply the solution. Because a lot of the times, as a software vendor, you end up being like, it's very easy to keep selling capabilities. It's another thing to match up a solution with an actual problem. Like, what do they actually need? Why are they changing? And so going through that with a certain level of, like, empathy, really understanding the people, really understanding what they're going through, what their fears are, um, can really help align everybody. And I think sometimes internally, a lot of that could be taken for granted just because everyone is on the same team, everyone's in the same company. And when a vendor comes in, they have kind of the option to be kind of what I call, like, kind of a drop off the software vendor, or they could really be a partner, someone who wants to get involved in making the change happen, who wants to be invested in the outcome, right, in the end state.
So when we take a look at again, kind of like leading this from the vendor side, your job is typically to come in and help implement software and do the technology side of things.
Right.
So how have you like thought through this and or kept your team focused on that people side versus always getting just like pulled in and sucked into like the technology side of things?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that happens a lot, right? It's really easy for that to happen. Um, well, one of the ways is to actually bring up often with the technology team that you want access, right? Like, some people don't even ask for access. People don't necessarily try to get into rooms where the business users are involved and understanding what the stakeholders want. I actually think that you could be a better partner to the technology team by pushing that issue, right? Like, it's not really a matter of trying to move around them, but really just being you want to be a partner to the business, but you also want to be a partner to the tech team, especially the tech vendor. So, helping them navigate that team, helping show that they're bringing in vendors that are of quality, that care about the end result, is actually good for everyone, right? It's good for the technology team, it's good for the business team, and it's good for us as a vendor. And it helps us solution better, right? It helps us, not just talk in terms of, like, the actual technology we're bringing in, but, like, where they should be placing it. Like, opens up new opportunities. Actually, there's been countless times where, just by having those sorts of conversations and pushing that way, we've opened up brand new opportunities for our customers because they didn't even know we were doing. We had capabilities to do certain things, but because we're pushing into the business cases, because we're pushing around the edges of it, and really trying to get involved in the overall change they're going through, we actually learn things about the business that maybe weren't obvious on the surface, maybe not part of the solution they were in the market for. If they had, like, an RFP, they may not have even asked that question. So sometimes it's actually we're pushing on it with the technology team, and that's actually what exposes like bigger opportunities, um, opportunities to help them through the change and to help their users make the most of it.
So, as we're having these conversations with the business and kind of like going into exploring, like, how do we make this transformation a success? How do we like center in on the business and make sure that we're like enhancing their value as opposed to detracting or decentering from where their value is when we change a process?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it comes back to the word I keep going back to, which is empathy, right? Like you have to like actually care about the people, and they have to get from you that you care, right? Because that's the only way that people are going to be willing to move in that direction. But I think a lot of it is really showing them what is possible with the time or with with the time saved, for example. A lot of software is saving people time or changing process to remove steps that are actually easier for it's like a machine to do than a person. But actually a lot of that should be centered on like what should the person be doing. And when we talk to customers and prospects, a lot of the time we ask the question of like, well, what would you do with more time? Like what would you do? And a lot of the time they have answers, they have great answers. They know exactly what they would do, and it's very high value stuff that only they could do. Only they can have conversations, for example, and talk to their distribution. For if you're a carrier or an MGA, a lot of things are around how do you manage your distribution? How do you talk to them about things that you're trying to do with your business, opportunities you want to open up, getting from them the opportunities they see. And the time is a factor. They just don't have the time a lot. So basically by asking them what they would do at that time, it opens up possibilities and actually creates like almost like a redeployment of of a role around them and around the really only like uniquely what I would call uniquely human things, like these touch points, these conversations, these partnerships with you know their counterparties. And I think that that's actually where the real value comes in, is like helping them see what's possible for them. And instead of the fear that comes with technology a lot of the time. I mean, there's so much talk right now around AI, around Gen AI, and people are worried about being disintermediated by the technology. And really, what we should be looking at is like, how does the technology make them more productive in the things they do, and the things that only they can do. Their expertise is actually the important part of their job a lot of the time, or their connections and relationships. And as a result of that, I mean, I think that it's really if you're a good vendor and you're going in and really partnering with people, you're going to find ways to help them see, you know, the actual like upgrade to their role, the things that they want to be doing or the things they're going to be doing. And a lot of stuff they don't really want to be doing is actually the stuff that's going away.
Well, thank you so much for joining me for the
Thank you.
discussion today, Jeff. And for anybody that's not, make sure you make your way over and connect with them on LinkedIn or keep an eye out for them. We're often going back and forth in the comments on any of my content as well. But certainly let us know, either one of us know if you've got any questions. But thank you everybody for watching, and thank you for joining me today, Jeff, and have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
day. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Leading Change. If you liked what you saw, be sure to subscribe and come back weekly for more expert interviews on digital transformation, change management, and emerging technologies.